Welcome to the Swim Swam podcast. I'm today's host, Coleman Hodges. Joining us today, he is a two-time Olympic champion, 17-time world championship medalist, and earlier this year, he was on the verge of being a swimmer. But luckily, he is still a swimmer. He is still with us, and he's got chlorine in his blood. Today, we are sitting down with Hunter Armstrong. Hunter, thanks so much for joining us. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Thank you for having me.
This episode of the Swim Swam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, Swim Swam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com. Absolutely. We were talking off camera. It's been quite a journey for you. I mean, your whole swimming career, but certainly since these Paris Olympic Games, where by all accounts you had a great meet, a great competition, and then, life happened, I guess. You and I had a chat in October. It seemed like things were going well. You were kind of starting to figure out what was next for you, maybe in the pool as well as out of the pool. But then, you had a recent post to Instagram that kind of explained that a lot of different unexpecteds came out of left field. So just from your perspective, and, I think this was around October, November. Can you tell me what happened and how you reacted to that news?
I wish I reacted a little bit better, but I think I was realistic in all of it. Coming off of Paris, I was planning a break anyway, and I was moving into the house. I got two puppies. Life was good. I was getting involved with my church, um, and then one day I got a phone call and was told that my primary sponsor was not going to re-sign me, and it didn't really give me any time to prepare. I We had talked beforehand about continuing to work together. And so I made choices in my life that reflected that. I bought a house. It's nothing crazy, but it's a responsibility. I now have a mortgage. Um, and so I built a lifestyle that reflected an extended contract. Um, and when that was taken away, I truly had to figure out, like, okay, now what? Like, I still have bills. I still have to take care of my dogs. Um, Everything that I had worked for since the start of my career was building to this moment to just have a little bit of security in my life and stability. I've moved every single year. Um, and so it was really nice to have my own place and feel like I had control over my life. And in one phone call, all of that was taken away.
Yeah, that's that has to be hard, especially for an athlete who, again, your craft happens in the pool. And I'm guessing, in a way, that's kind of your sanctuary. That's where you maybe work out some of the things that aren't going as well. But to have that be taken away from you, again, how did you react to that? I know pulling out of short course worlds was one thing, but how did you deal with the fact that you were on the verge of not being able to pay your bills?
Um, I panicked first and foremost. Um, but I'm very fortunate to have I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by good people. Um, Fortunately, USA Swimming has always backed me. There were a lot of conversations and working behind the scenes with them. New York Athletic Club, they're pulling strings and trying to help me out. Um, then, of course, like my community and family. Most of my friends still don't know that this ever happened. Um, I think even some of the coaches for Ohio State didn't know the full extent of what happened. I just one day stopped showing up to practice. Um, and not because I didn't miss it. Like, I enjoy what I do and I want to do this in LA, but it's just not realistic to give the time that this sport demands for free. And that's not like a I'm not going to work for free kind of thing. It's I have a mortgage and responsibilities, and if I don't work, I will lose everything. And so I scrambled and um, did odd jobs. I did a lot of like construction, contracting. I substitute taught for a good bit. I still substitute teach, but now school's over. So um, and a lot of clinics, speaking engagements, just anything and everything I could do to try to. I will never be able to replace that income.
Mhm.
I tried. I looked into coaching jobs, and I'm like, all right, well, this fell through. Maybe this is a sign that it's time for the next chapter of my life. And I quickly realized that entry level jobs um, don't really pay what I thought they would. Um, and so I probably would have had to have 2 or 3 full-time jobs, at least that I could find with my expertise, um, to just be able to afford to keep living a modest life.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
it was something.
Yeah. So you were scrambling. Did you talk to any of the coaches at Ohio State where you were training about your situation?
Um, I talked to Bill and Brian. Brian, being my sprint coach, felt it was only fair that he's aware.
Mhm.
Um, and I have a good relationship with Bill, and so he has sort of taken on a mentor kind of role for me, not only in coaching because that's what I want to do, um, but also just in life. Um, you know, I'm still trying to figure out adulting, um, and so it's nice to have him in my corner to where like when stuff goes wrong, I at least know that he's there to support me and help me through. Um, Even if it's just saying, "Hey, you got this," like whatever it may be. I know I can count on Ohio State and the people with USA Swimming. I mean, these sound like plugs, but I mean, I've been working with these same people for
Oh
years,
yeah.
and so I have a good relationship with them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, and I'm just curious. What what advice did they give you in this situation? Or I mean, because this wasn't like a 1 day solution, right? Or this wasn't a 1 week or 1 month solution. I mean, you were having to do this for the last 6 to 8 months and or just work through this. Like I'm just curious how your coaches, who again this was your means of living for a long, long time, and these were the guys who were guiding you through it. I'm just curious what advice they did give you and how they did support you, even when you were still, going to swim meets this year. You hit a couple pro swims. I think you went to one other short course yards meet, but um, you know, just how they did support you through this.
um, Ooh, nice little voice crack there. Um, So they had helped me in finding um, other opportunities. So I was able to get some clinics set up. I just finished up the gold medal clinics with Ohio State. And so even though I wasn't in the water really at all, um, they they were just supportive. Um, I truly had lost hope, which sounds really depressing, but it's not in the. I thought that my career was over, and the only thing that made that hard, well, a couple things made it hard, but the biggest thing that made it hard was that it wasn't on my terms. I was forced out, and I think I still have a lot to give to this sport, and I I, I want to be able to at least leave when I have a plan in place. So come whenever I retire, um, I'll have a job lined up. I'll have my ducks in a row so that when that income does go away, I'm not left like I was and just scrambling and trying to figure out stuff. Because hopefully by that time, it won't just be me. Like maybe I'll have a wife, probably not kids, but I am fortunate that I'm the only one who had to really deal with this. If I did have a family, this would have been a lot harder because putting food on the table is already stressful for most people. Um, and so if I skip a meal, that's fine. But for me to put my family through that would be so much harder.
Mm. Yeah. So you go through this winter, this spring. I mean, and again, you were going to competitions. You went to the Westmont Pro Swim. You went to the Fort Lauderdale Pro Swim. I'm just curious what that experience was like, knowing A, that you hadn't been training, and B, that you had the mindset of like, my career is over. You know, you even mentioned in your Instagram post at Fort Lauderdale, you thought that was going to be the last meet of your career.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say that the short course meet, I did not know that I was racing. I showed up for a clinic, um, and then I got there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you need to race." Um, and so they're like, "Do you want to do the 100 back or the 100 free?" So I'm like, "Well, I mean, I feel like I should have a little bit of um, training under my belt. Backstroke's a leg burner."
Mm,
Um, and so like, I'm gonna do the 100 free. One, because it's fun, I enjoy it,
mhm,
um, but also because there were less expectations on it. Um, Westmont was fun. I got to drive there, and I have friends in Chicago that I got to see. Um, my focus there was truly, I want to try to enjoy myself and have fun, um, because there were no expectations. I hadn't been training. I didn't expect to win. I didn't expect a final. Didn't expect best times or anywhere close. Crazy thing is, my 50 free was only like 2 or 3 tenths off my best time. Um, and the 100 free wasn't too far off of what I'd go in season anyway. So it wasn't a negative thing, but I got to go in and just have fun and also be a spectator. Like I got to sit in the stands and watch my friends compete, and it was a different approach, a different mindset, and it was really enjoyable. But for Fort Lauderdale, I I thought that was going to be my last one, and it's crazy how we came full circle. on our very first interview together in 2019, um, I had told you the only reason I started swimming was because I wanted to go to a training camp. And my coach told me I had to go to practice to do that.
Mhm.
And that training camp was at Fort Lauderdale. That's where everything started for me.
Wow.
And so when I was standing behind the blocks at the Pro Series, I'm like, man, like we this is where it started, and I guess this is where it's gonna end too. And I think there's beauty in that,
Mhm.
but I'm definitely blessed to not have that be my last meet.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I will never forget our first interview at Irvine Junior Nationals in 2019, and yeah, like you said, what a path it's been since then. Um, I certainly am grateful to have followed your journey in the pool throughout this time, but I I also think you're right. There is beauty in, having a beginning and having an end. And if that's in the same place, I mean that's pretty, serendipitous for lack of a better term. But uh I'm personally as a swim fan also glad to hear it's not your last swim meet. Um
Yes.
so since that competition, you're getting, a new sponsor. It has not officially been announced yet, but have you started to get back into training again? And we just reported today, or you just told us today, you're not going to US trials, which are next week in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Now it makes a little more sense why. But what is your plan now that you kind of have this renewed career, and you will be able to fund yourself and keep going in the sport for a while?
Yeah, so obviously can't go to trials. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to have the suits and stuff in time,
Mm,
and it would put a big rush on them to I mean, we haven't even hard launched. I haven't even officially signed the contract yet, and I think competition starts a week from tomorrow. So, everything was moving too fast, and also, I mean, I haven't been training. There was no I I I don't think I'm gonna make a team, like that, but, right now, I've considered this year a wash. A lot of guys are taking years off anyway and haven't done any competitions or any training, um, and honestly, I think that's a good thing to be able to take a break. Um, when I was thrown into the deep end of this sport, every single meet for me was the Olympic Games. Um, Outside of the fact that my first ever international was actually the Olympic Games, um, I mean, I came back in 2022 and I'm like, I have to prove this wasn't a mistake. And then in 2023, Matt left and my grandpa died at the meet. And then in 2024, my girlfriend dumps me while I'm in Doha. And I mean, just every single time there's been something. Um, and so it's really nice to just sort of pull back and start to learn about who I am without the sport. Um, because this was a very rude awakening of, you know, one day it could all go away. And I was not ready for it. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know all of my identity for these last 6 years has been how fast can I go? And so when that was taken away, it was pretty like it was a wake up call. Like I don't I don't know who I am, and so I'm finishing out this year with that being the focus of just continue to learn about myself, continue to enjoy life, and sort of get a better foundation and build swimming on top of it rather than having swimming be my foundation.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you don't want the uh, inciting incident for a process like this to be what yours was in an ideal situation. But I think that's a good journey for everyone to have. And I think we talk about this with athletes a lot, like what are you without the sport, or when the sport ends, like what's your plan, and where will you go next? Swimming isn't forever. Um, and so it's great to hear that you're discovering these things about yourself, because I think as humans, that's that's life, right?
Yeah.
Just figuring out who we are.
Yeah, honestly, it's been such an enjoyable experience. Just I've learned so much about myself, and I mean, I'm a completely different person now than I was in February of last year.
Mhm.
I mean, Doha is really where everything changed.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, it hurt a lot. I went through a lot of really dark times. Um, but knowing what I know now, I would do it all again.
Yeah. It's good to hear that there is light at the end of that tunnel, right? Even though it gets dark for a while.
Yeah, it was pretty dark, but I knew that um, I knew that eventually it would end, and so I just tried to speed up that process a little bit and try to learn as much as I could while I was going through it.
Mhm.
I mean, pain is a catalyst for change, and there's been a decent bit of pain through these last 4 years.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I take pride in it um, because I didn't give up. No
Yeah.
matter how many times I wanted to, I'm still here. I'm still kicking.
Still kicking. Yeah. And I think we as swim fans are excited to hear that. Absolutely. So a few more questions, just so moving forward. Do you think you will still be training at Ohio State?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the team here. Um, obviously, my coaches, but I built a life here.
Mm.
Um, I like my house. Um, it's finally starting to like really come together. I know I said that last time, um, but my brother and his wife, they moved in and they were saving up to buy their first house, and so half of my house was still not mine.
Yeah.
And so now that they're out in their new place, now I get to redecorate those rooms and truly make the whole thing mine.
Mhm. That's I yeah, I feel like when you live somewhere, especially if it's your own home, it's like that comes in stages, right? Like there's
Mhm,
the first month and the first 6 months and the first year, and like it goes through these different phases of coming together, as you
mhm.
said. So your plan is to stay at Ohio State. Do you have any competitions on the calendar? I know this is all relatively new, but because you thought your career was going to be over a month ago, but do you have any competitions marked on your calendar for the rest of the season or for the rest of 2025?
Um, so the weird thing about 25 is I'm pretty confident that this trials next week is the national team selection for the next year.
Right.
So I have no idea what competitions are going to happen next year. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's been released. Um,
Yeah. So there'll be pan packs. in Irvine next year, and then there'll be like a nationals in right before Pan Pacs, also at Irvine in 2026.
Well, um, obviously the Tier Pro series is pretty consistent.
Mhm.
This year I will be going to the meet in Irvine. I think it's beginning of August.
Yep.
Um, Not really any big expectations there. Just I want to finish this year out trying to enjoy swimming again.
Yeah.
Um, and so I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try to get myself to stay on the national team. Um, and I think I can go pretty fast. I mean, my 50s weren't bad
Mhm.
from these last two pro series, but my focus for this year, since so much of it has already passed, I'm gonna focus more on my personal life. Um, but once this summer season closes out, I'm all in 100% back to normal because I'd only planned on a 6-month break, and um, some other people had other plans. So yeah, no. I'm gonna finish out this year having fun, spend some time learning. I'm going to a concert this weekend. I've never been to a concert, and so just little things like that. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it seems like you've gotten to have some fun. You've gotten to travel a bit, other than just for work or for clinics or for swim meets. You got to go to Tenerife recently, which is a pretty cool destination. How was that trip for you?
That was amazing. Truth be told, I enjoyed Madrid a lot more than Tenerife.
Okay.
Um, but so I went to Tenerife to work with my potential sponsor, and they put me up in a pretty nice hotel, paid for my flights. I'd never been to Spain,
Mm.
and so I got to go to the Canary Islands, and I got in a flume, and it's basically just an endless pool. Um, but you can like change the speeds, and it's really techy.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a bunch of wearables on me, and so I would try on different suits and dive in, and it was able to check my heart rate. It was checking my VO2. Um, and then in the water, they were able to see how the water moves around my suit and determine drag, and like it's very very sciency, and I'm really excited to work with them.
That sounds like a really fun experience just from a geeking out on the sport and tech side of things. What did you like about Madrid?
So it technically wasn't work at that point. I only did 1 day in the flume. I was in Spain for 5.
Okay.
Um, and so when I flew out, we were figuring out flights, and I had a connection in Madrid anyway.
Mhm.
And so our guy asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to see Madrid?" I'm like, "Sure." And so I stayed there for about 36 hours. But I got to go see a flamenco show. It was incredible. And then I sat next to a cool dude from Ibiza on the flight, and he was telling me that so he's a DJ, and so
Mhm.
we were talking about music, and he's like, "Do you like show tunes?" I'm like, "I love show tunes." And so he's like, "Well, you should see a show while you're here." And I guess maybe it's a European thing, maybe it's a Spain thing, their culture is not the same. Musicals are for kids there.
Okay.
But I was determined that that would not deter me, and so I went to see El Leon Rey, The Lion King,
Nice.
and it was all kids. I felt horrible because I bought a really nice seat, like, in the front so that I could see everything better, um, and I have, like, 3 school field trips sitting behind me. None of them spoke English, and fortunately, the usher was a little bit bilingual,
Hmm.
and I'm like, "Hey, man, there's no way these kids can see. Can like, can you put me somewhere else?"
Yeah.
And he gave them all boosters, and they they were fine, but I felt so bad,
That's
but
that's a great culture shock story.
well, and they're all so nice. Um, so here in the States, you get a program when you go into the show.
Hmm.
You have to buy them there.
Okay.
And so considering I was only there for a day, I
Mhm.
didn't have any euros, and they didn't take
Yeah.
card, and they wouldn't accept USD.
Okay.
And I wanted a program. Like, that's really cool. It's a memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like 7 or 8 different people, including some of the kids that I was blocking from seeing the show, all started just handing me euros so that I could buy this program.
Aw.
Like, they were so sweet. And I texted Hugo and I'm like, dude, I can't believe you live here. Like, this is so cool.
Did Hugo give you advice?
He did. We tried to connect, but he gets there on the 31st.
Okay.
Um, and then he told me that Lydia Jacoby is in Madrid.
Oh, that's right.
And so I texted her and
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, we should connect. And she was in Portugal. So I did this one alone, but it
Yeah.
was so fun. And the music was good.
Mhm.
Um, couldn't tell you if the show was any good because I didn't understand a lick of what they were saying. Um,
But the experience was good.
honestly, I think I enjoyed it more because I didn't know what they were saying.
Mhm.
And so all of the jokes, everyone else would laugh, but I'm just sitting there like, what what's so funny? And so it was almost even more enjoyable because everything was out of context. Every weird motion to get a laugh,
Mhm.
I didn't understand any of it, and it was so funny because of that.
That's that. I can totally see how that was the case, and you know, especially when you're traveling, especially overseas, it's like you're just taking everything in, right? It's like you're in a place you've never been. You're just trying to figure everything out, and like in a setting that's so foreign to you. Like, yeah, there's a heavy element of comedy of just like not knowing.
It's so weird to just language barriers are such a weird thing to encounter.
Yeah.
Um, and it's very rare that I run into that issue because pretty much every other place except for the United States, English is universal.
Yeah.
Like the signs in Japan still have English written under them.
Hmm.
But here in the States, we're like, nah, everyone's got to speak English. And if you don't, sorry.
Seriously. Yeah. No, we're adamant. We're adamant for
We're
sure.
spoiled. We're spoiled.
We are. Yeah. So that sounds like a very cool experience. And then, as you mentioned, you're going to a show this weekend in DC. You on your Instagram, you asked for any tips for first time ravers? And I'm just curious if you got any tips or if you got any good ones.
I did. So obviously, I don't think that the people that follow me are the same demographic of people that do raves, and so I didn't really get too much.
Hmm.
Um, but Zach Harding, he never went to a rave, but he did festivals.
Hmm.
Um, and so I got a hydro pack, and we're, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have no idea what to expect, but it's going to be 2 days in DC with
Nice.
some friends from West Virginia.
Hey, that it sounds like a good time. Hydro pack is a pro move.
And
uh, you will not be sad that you have that. Um, but hey, I'm glad that you've been able to do some fun things, and happy that you are able to get back in the pool and get back to training soon, Hunter. So thank you for sharing this experience with us. I really appreciate you taking the time.
yeah, absolutely.
You've been listening to the Swim Swam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take Swim Swam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.